Even our first asset of 10 crore took about 63 days to get sold out. To build trust, we had a Zoom button on the website homepage. And one of the founder used to join the call so that people would take it seriously. Right? Fintech में distribution business में margin नहीं है. There are many people who are able to solve problems, but there are not enough people who are able to detect right problems to solve. Right? So when my last startup shut down, I was very clear कि team तो सही बनानी है. Right? मतलब in tech business, people matter most.
I want to blame you for something. You were the one who started the whole trend of Finfluencers, right? Like Hi. In today's episode of GrowthX Inner Circle, we have Ajinkya Kulkarni. Ajinkya is the co-founder of WintWealth, India's top bonds platform with more than 1500 crores under management. This episode is a little special. We sent an exclusive invite to 25 GrowthX leaders and founders to be with us while we recorded this podcast live. In this conversation, we uncover core insights behind how Indians invest, how WintWealth recreated fixed returns as a category, and why are fintechs booming in India. This is a super interesting episode. Let's dig in. It's a phenomenal story in terms of your life journey, right? I've always been curious, right? And I've always tried to dig a little more. What was life like?
Life was comfortable. We were like my father runs a business. That business grew once I went to college. But before that, it was a small business. My mom was a government servant.
Nasik
mein. No challenges. I don't remember any challenges. There was very much focus on studies, right? And not just studies. I mean, my parents were very focused on me. Both of us, me and my brother, right? कुछ भी करना है मतलब we used to go to library or like a bookshop, and if you wanted to buy 15 books, they would never say no. If you wanted to take competition in some elocution competition, anything, right? They would never say no. So, and they would drive us there, bring us back, etc. So very focused. I mean, and very lucky on that side. But money was not big, but money was not even a factor. I mean. Obviously, we weren't rich, but we weren't poor also. So yeah, I mean, really happy memory. And I was a very, very much focused on academics as such. So I did well there, right? And therefore, I have happy memories. I mean,
then college happened.
Yeah, and then college happened. So it was very clear कि है पढ़ाई में अच्छा है तो IIT जाना है. मतलब IIT करना तो है, right? And I had confidence कि मैं निकाल लूँगा. In fact, 11th standard or 12th standard mein, all friends who were preparing for JEE, we actually shaved off our heads.
Oh.
And I had this IIT written.
Really?
Yeah. I have one.
All of you? Or just you?
No, me and couple of more, right? So,
nice.
Just to show you, I don't know what it meant, right? But didn't get a good rank in IIT. But fortunately, some new IITs had happened. So, landed up at IIT and studied there. All the way, it was very clear that I'll join my father's business.
Okay.
Right. So he has an automobile parts business. So option में भी IIT में mechanically पूरा थे जो भी. Right. So I got into IIT and then mechanical. Yeah, and then the college journey started because we were the first batch. Bunch of different problems. Campus ही नहीं था. Hostel भी we it was basically a gated community of 10 apartments. उसमें से एक apartment was our hostel.
Okay.
And then comp lab भी नहीं था. IIT है but there was no computer lab. Right. There was no Wi-Fi वगैरह.
What year are we talking here?
This 2008. So that's not. I'm not that old, right?
Not yet.
Because it was a new IIT. I mean, then things settled. I mean, but yeah, the journey was good also there. So वही था कि father का business join करना है तो वो
You were saying this again, right? You said this twice. So was it subtly from your parents? उन्होंने बोला था कि यार करना है या फिर it's unknown, it's there.
It was explicit, ऐसे implicit नहीं था. And I didn't know कि I had choice also. ऐसा you are very young, right?
Yeah.
करो सही है. And there was nothing wrong in it. And I used to visit my father's factory since childhood.
What's the factory about?
It's automobile parts business. So
okay.
They will make a bunch of small parts. Will supply to OEMs like Mahindra. Yeah.
And you met some of your co-founders right now. Abhik, I think.
Yes, one co-founder.
Yeah,
yes.
It's from IIT Gandhinagar as well.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanted to join your father's business because there is a small play of you trying to leave India, right? Like doing that internship
No, that was in
Poland.
2017.
That was during college.
Yeah, in college, like ऐसा था IIT का IIM करना है. Right? Then I started preparing for CAT, and I was doing good preparation, but that's when that India against corruption movement happened, and I was very big part of it. And that time I thought I should be a full-time politician.
Oh wow!
Right. So I did. Like I started exploring it. After IIT, actually I didn't sit for placements. I joined government of Gujarat. We were working for Vibrant Gujarat. Worked there for 4 months. Didn't enjoy it, but still was figuring out how do I become a good politician, and with a very idealistic way of politics, etc. Right. Then was figuring out what to do. Then thought, should I do MA Political Science? Right.
Yeah.
Then went to Delhi, prepared for JNU entrance.
Wow.
Then visited JNU. Then lost interest. Right. Then came back, joined father's business. Then I joined an NGO full time in Eastern Maharashtra in a Naxalite area. I worked there for 3-6 months, and that's when I realized कि यार ये सब सही है, but I really enjoy like doing business, building business, and that's when I started up. Right. So yeah, I mean, did bunch of things. So
I thank God you didn't write IIM, right? Like
yeah.
Good. So I think very interesting story, because like even like for me, I started my journey by started working in a NGO, and then very early on realized कि मैं दुनिया को हेल्प नहीं कर सकता अगर मैं खुद की हेल्प नहीं कर सकता, right? So eventually realized that that's not the way for me now. Of course, eventually, is that somewhere like, is that what happened in 6 months when you were?
Yeah, kind of. I realized कि यार I want many things, right? If I have wants, I should not be doing this natak. I mean, natak as in if you are an NGO and if you say you serve people, then you should be serving. If inside you want something, then it becomes natak, and I didn't want to do it.
Nice, superficial.
It becomes superficial, right? And I saw a bunch of guys doing really phenomenal work, but they were very dedicated. They really enjoyed that life, and I wasn't enjoying that life, right? So that's why like I said, चलो कुछ बनाते हैं, business बनाते हैं. Didn't want to go back to father's business.
Why?
Mainly I worked there, and I realized, I mean, his is a manufacturing unit, right? So you basically take debt, put factory, and then you repay the loan. So for 7 years, you just like go to factory, work. There is nothing interesting, right? And I'm a textbook ADHD, right? So I found it boring. I can't do it for life. So I want to do something new. So that's when I started up, and that was our first startup. Earlier it was called Epiflux. Then we renamed it to Credit Period. So it was earlier a B2B commerce venture. Then it became an invoice-based discounting platform.
And then you got acquired as well.
Yes. Then we got acquired by Frenzy Loans in late 2016.
So where was that? Like, I'm more interested in that seed of starting. Like you could have, in none of this journey, आपने कहीं नहीं बोला कि यार कहीं job ले लेता हूँ. वो है ही नहीं vocabulary में.
Yes, because I came from business family. मतलब business करना was the default thing. मतलब it was never कि job करना. And I'm very privileged to say that. I know, right, lot of folks who want to jump up at startups, but they have family responsibility and they can't. So I'm very lucky on that side and very privileged, right? But हाँ, it was always there कि खुद का कुछ करना है, धंधा करना है, मतलब job नहीं करना.
तो धंधा करना है, but there's so many things, right? Again, your engineering background and all of that, but how fintech? Like, why even Credit Period? How did that happen? So, what was your thought process?
Yeah, so I was working in my father's business. I saw this raw material suppliers make a lot of money, right? So we said, let's start a marketplace of that. And this is when Flipkart had raised $1 billion. I still remember कि यार अपन भी बना लेंगे. And so we started raw materials business, and we were doing good, right? But what we realized is that like we are paying off the manufacturers or the traders upfront, and therefore we are getting the good rates, right? But the SMEs whom we were supplying to, they really needed some credit period. So they used to pay after 60 days and 90 days, and therefore their traders used to charge them a lot, and right? So essentially the money is not in figuring out the right supplier. It is in providing the credit period, right? If you provide them credit period, they would also find really good suppliers and will buy at the best rates. So we realized the problem is this. And to be frank, I mean, it was not even a problem.
institutional.
We were looking for a problem. Like it was more like we were looking for a problem. So, but still giving credit period was kind of a problem, and we started seeing traction there. But we needed to give money. We did give money, but we didn't. So none of us had back then finance experience. All of 2 mechanical engineer, 1 comms का engineer, right? हमने दे भी दिया 1-2 crore. Fortunately कहीं डूबा नहीं. But we realized, I mean, and back, this is the time when I had started seeing YC video. I came across YC. I didn't even know what YC is back, right? So I started seeing their videos, startup school ke, and realized we are not the best team. So
what about it? Like, what was the realization in the team? Was it talent? Was it?
No, we were all good co-founders, right? Things is, we are not complementary. That is number one. And second, किसी को domain knowledge नहीं है. The finance, lending छोड़ो, finance भी किसी ने किया नहीं है, right?
Yeah.
तो करोगे क्या? कुछ मतलब, you can't really like. And we were seeing कि other teams then back then capital float was becoming big, new growth was becoming big, lending card was becoming big. So you realize, I mean, like we'll just screw it up, and like we are not the best team. And once you know you're not the best team, it's not a game you should play, right? So.
But you still played it, right? You played it for a while and then you got acquired.
No, once the realization came, we were like, we'll figure out what to do. We'll either get acquired or we'll shut shop.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like we'll figure out something.
So it was on that journey that you got acquired.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, it was not here. I mean, we shut the shop.
Okay.
I joined Creative, and then one of my co-founder was interviewing at Flexilo, and they said, we want to build this. So he told them, why don't you buy this? Anyway, we are shutting it down. Right? So they said, "Ki theek hai." So they also take couple of our tech guys. So that's how that acquisition happened. There was nothing, we got zero money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we are happy कि अपना product कोई तो ले रहा है, चल रहा है, कुछ तो है.
You were anyway going to shut it down. So
we had shut it down. Not anyway, like.
And then that seed, if I may say so, was existing. And then you were like, you were working eventually. I think you were working
then
as
I
a
started
PM.
looking for jobs. So then I was very clear कि यार mistake कर ली, अभी आके मचाते हैं, but अभी यहाँ रहना है. तो job करते हैं, right? So job was always a stepping stone. That was very clear, right? So then I started interning because I came from a fintech background. थोड़ा fintech समझ में भी आ रहा था. Then जो job offer मिल रहे थे वो fintech में ही थे. We were paying well, right? So that's when I joined Credit Vidya. But ऐसा कहीं, in fact, even when starting WintWealth, I didn't have an inclination कि fintech में कुछ करना है.
It's just serendipity of some sorts, and
not even serendipity. I mean, I was okay कि fintech, that landing from B2B commerce to invoice bill discounting, that was like by chance. But after that, we were like कि problem solve करना है, करते हैं. अब वो कुछ भी हो सकता है, मतलब it need not be fintech, वो कुछ भी हो सकता है.
I think this is very common because I've spoken to you earlier, like on one of those Zoom calls, and you said that there's a very structured way of, and I tell your story to so many people, especially startups that I talk to, that that's how Ajinkya looks at it. Don't look at an idea that मेरे को idea आया और मुझ पे काम करना है. Your approach has been very different. Talk me through that. Like, from what I remember is, it's very based on, I know I want to solve a problem. Let me look at objectively what are all the list of problems and how do I go about saying that this is a probable place where success can be done. So it's that kind of approach versus approaching it from a place that, oh, I have this idea, I believe in this, and then let me go and create something there and hoping for a probability of success. So why do you look at it this way? Is it that you like, don't you find some ideas which find affinity towards you, like, yeah, this seems like a good thing, or you rationally think of it and you're like, hey, यहाँ पे market नहीं है, or some other reason?
That learning came from our first startup कि वो इतना खतर, मतलब that is the first time I've seen failure, right? Before that, good academically, good kid, went into IT, decent GPA, मतलब जितना पढ़ाई किया उसके हिसाब से अच्छा ही है. I became cultural secretary, I was general secretary, right? And then suddenly, and like, when you're that young, right? And especially I didn't have that kind of POV or something. हम तो दिखता था सभी successful है, हम ही failure है, right? Because you always look at startups which are successful, right? So, and then I came across YC and they realized, I mean, startups are not a new phenomenon, right? The earlier startup, let's say Microsoft or Apple, these are at least 30-40 year old, right? So this is there is huge data, there is huge frameworks, there is a discipline. Obviously there is madness, but there is method to that madness, right? And unless you know method, you can be lucky and be successful. But do you want to opt for that? Obviously, the answer is no. So then you understand the method and then follow it and then see how it takes, where it takes, right? And obviously, I mean, not everything is answered rationally. So even today, we will take some calls which are completely intuitive. But we will tell this is intuition, right?
What percentage is that for you?
I don't look at it percentage, but I can definitely tell you like the problems or the bets that you take, which are like which are very, very impactful, very non-obvious bets. These are mainly intuitive.
Okay, the bigger bets.
Yes.
The main bets.
Yes. The very long bets. Because first you don't have data, and second you're kind of playing in a game theory, saying when I say something is non-obvious, that means like if it is obvious, a lot of people will do it. So abhi fintech ka मैं example देता हूँ. Fintech में whenever something fundamental changes, and that could be either world event, which is like COVID, or regulation, or some technology, right? Now, let's look at Zerodha as an example, right? For a long time, it was a non-obvious bet. I'm talking about till 2015-16, right? Because nobody knew how the market will grow, and that's the advantage they cashed in on, right? Because that community was itself very low, right? Another example I saw recently, Jar, right? Nobody thought like ये saving में कुछ बनेगा बड़ा, right? But what fundamental change is this UPI 2.0, which enabled repeated UPI transactions, right? And nobody bet on it.
Such a small thing, nobody probably looked at it.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, many people would have looked at it. Nobody could build conviction इसमें कुछ बड़ा बन सकता है, right? And that non-obvious thing, because if there were 10 jars, jar would not become this big, right? In so much, right? So, and it was like not just the problem you are solving, right? You are also betting on nobody else is
building on that, hopefully.
And you're like that 90% of that value creation is going to happen because nobody else is building on it, right? So how do you bet on right? So and then obviously execution and all these things matter, right? But yes, I mean some long bets will come from intuition, and that intuition gets sharper as you are in the industry. Sometimes you just intuitively feel it. You don't have you can't really rationalize it at that moment, but you know it's hitting. And obviously still you can still be wrong, right?
Obviously.
You'll feel कि फोड़ देगा but कुछ नहीं.
But you know, very interestingly, I've seen that people, when they have that kind of intuition, they kind of frame it. They have this sentence, they have this thing, I believe, and of course a belief, and then they have this, I believe AI is going to do this, I believe fintech mein hone wala hai. So is there a core belief that you have that in terms of intuition, that I believe that this is the future that I see is probably going to happen, I'm going to make my bets happen on that? Maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't, but I truly believe that that's the direction it's going to take. Do you have some statements like that when you look at intuition in your case?
Intuition से ना वो statement rationally नहीं आते. Because then it becomes I now I have a very clear let me say belief is कि fintech में distribution business में margin नहीं है. But it's not an intuitive thing.
It's a thing that you've seen it.
There is a clear reason why it is happening. So there is some examples, right? But it's not an intuitive thing, madam.
I want to dig deeper though. Like, how do you look at it that way? कि distribution में margin नहीं है.
Because we have seen consistently that happening, and the core reason is in financial services, the regulators are not in favor of distributors having a lot of margins. And I suspect, I don't know, I haven't talked to regulator on this, it's because they don't think distributors do that much of a value addition. Right? So your regular mutual fund, now they're a direct mutual fund.
Yeah.
Right? Even in insurance now, there is insurance Sugam where you can buy directly at a cheaper price. So there is a clear trend, right? And whoever is betting against that trend is not able to make it big. even there, some of these bets will be non-obvious. Now that is, I don't have that intuition. If I had, I'd be rather building it or get my team on it.
And some of that intuition led to WintWealth, right? So let's talk about that. Like, how did that happen?
So when I was at MSwipe, I started this 100 problem project. I have spoken it many times, and I actually heard it from Kunal Shah saying ki, like now, like there are many people who are able to solve problems, but there are not enough people who are able to detect right problems to solve, right? And so he said ki, how can I choose a right problem unless I have ample enough problems, right? So he said, let's list down 100 problems and then only think of solution of one line. Even one line of solution we'll only think once we have 100 problems. And I and bunch of guys started working on it, and I said I made it open to anyone who wanted to join. I said you can pick up any idea, start building it. Like anybody can pick up, any you want to contribute, you can contribute. And we opened it about 30-40 people. And not many contributed, but like on first couple of days we got hold of 20 problems, something. Then it became increasingly hard. It took us about 3 months to complete those 100 problems. But then we had a lot of problems, and then we had 3 criteria, like how deep is the market, how desperate is the problem, and how passionate I am about this problem. And then we basically selected top 5, right? And then started evaluating them. Simultaneously, I met a VC and who said there is something if you can manufacture. Indians have crazy obsession for fixed income products. If you give 2% more return than FD, there will be some tickers. Right, and so this was not one of the 5 problems, right? But that made sense, and I realized this is a very hard problem to solve. Because I was from Fintech, I could immediately construct a solution, talk to people, pitched it to 10 people who could be potentially here. Saw the potential and started building out, right? So why I pick this problem is still there is no rational reason, right? I started enjoying it, and it was कि बन सकता है इसमें, यानी बनाना मुश्किल है तो मोट रहेगा, या मतलब अगर हमने इसमें अच्छा बनाया तो फंडिंग मिल जाएगा, कुछ बड़ा बनेगा. Like I could not frame it at that point, but it was kind of intuitive.
But the 3 criteria were met.
Yeah.
You were passionate about it.
I like now I think it's, for me that passion comes from winning. So I would pick any problem if it is like, if the reward is high, and I do think that we are one of the best teams and we have a shot at success. It need not be fintech or any problem. So that passion indicator is kind of, for me personally, passion is in winning, is
in the past to winning, right? Like, no, you know that there's a probability to win there. Because if it were to win, then that's more of a, like you have already got it. तो मैं तो जीत गया ना फिर. So it's more of you're saying कि I can see that I can win here. But then there are places.
Reasonable chance. I mean, in startup there are so many probabilities. ये reasonable chance है. Path, I think for me, the path is definitely important. It is important on the things that you do daily in and out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I am a CEO, I have a choice what to do or not to do, right? So I will discount that. I'll still look at is this big enough to pursue, and do I have a reasonable chance of winning? Obviously, if I don't enjoy the daily in process, I will not sustain to take it long. So the path is definitely important. The process is definitely important, but the destination is also very important. I mean, especially in startups, right?
I'm so curious to know what were those 5 that you did choose, and of course, this was WintWealth ended up.
I don't even remember.
You don't?
Yeah.
But none of them had the passion indicator. Is probably
no. I was passionate about it.
Those, but okay.
I mean, so what I realized, passion is, and at that point that came out as a kind of correlation. Is like if I personally feel that problem, then I would be very passionate about solving it.
So talk us through WintWealth, right? How did GrowthX, at least GrowthX startup, right?
Yeah.
So GrowthX, you were like, okay, VC ne bola, sounds, by the way, would love to know who that VC was. Do you remember?
Yeah. So that was Mrudul.
Okay.
Yeah. Back then they were safe capital.
So what happened then? You were like, ठीक है, इस पे करना है. Seems like it's validated for the 3. Then what did you do next? Like, how did that 0 to 1 journey? Walk us through that. I'll tell you what. One thing I really remember is 2019, 2020. You used to write really kick-ass LinkedIn posts. I think that's how I first got to know about
Yeah.
you. The posts were really nice, and I would still comment on them. I was one of few, crazy folks who would do that. And that's where the interesting part is what you said right now. As a CEO, you have a choice of figuring out कि मुझे क्या करना है. But then you did choose, and I think very rigorously you were writing, right? So one part of that 0 to 1 journey is कि how did you think of that as a thing that you would want to do? Like as a startup founder, you barely had resources, you barely had people working for you. How did you think that, this is how I want to do it? So what was the insight that led you to LinkedIn? And also more importantly, how was the entire journey? Like what happened there?
So thing is, we started building, like I started exploring this in January 2020. Abhik joined in April, right? And in March, COVID came. So our product launch was getting delayed because we had to get asset on the platform and we had to execute that asset, and that kept getting delayed, right? So, and we knew it will take another couple of months to get asset on the platform. So what do we do now, right? And we wanted some avenue to understand users better, talk to users, get some connect, right? Some basically agenda to talk to user. So and I guess that's when Abhik and I came across some LinkedIn workshop. We did that LinkedIn workshop and realized LinkedIn pe bahut wide space hai because people write really shitty stuff, right? So if you do even enough value creation, there will be some takers. It's very hard to create space on Twitter. Because like a lot of authoritative content, lot of really good content is there. Back then, at least, today also people think that LinkedIn is not great, but it is still improved a lot compared to how it was 4 years ago, right? So we realized कि यहाँ कुछ बन सकता है. And so our aim was not to create a brand or let's say get traction. It's like कि डाल के देखते क्या चलता है क्या नहीं. And that's when we started writing and it picked up well. And I started enjoying writing that. Right. And that's how it happened. But it wasn't really saying कि we have to build. And now we realize backside कि what impact it created. But it's in hindsight. When we started, it wasn't कि इससे कुछ बड़ा बनेगा या टॉप वाइज बनना है, ऐसा कुछ ये नहीं था. It was like कि लिखते हैं देखते क्या चलता है क्या नहीं. We'll understand users better. And maybe you can call up 10 people and ask कि क्या लिखना है. So at least you have a kind of agenda to talk to people, right? To users, potential users. So that was the reason, right? Another thing why we chose LinkedIn was like, interestingly enough, it is very easy to create audience on LinkedIn, right? On Twitter, if you follow me, then I don't follow you back immediately. I have to manually do it. On LinkedIn, if you send a connection request, you accept, then you follow. So when we started writing, or just before that, every day I used to send 100 requests.
Okay. That's the limit, I guess.
Yeah, that's the limit, right? And we realized 40-50% would accept. Then we realized कि उसको इफेक्टिव बनाने के लिए एक और पकड़ो बड़ा, उसमें भेजो. तो म्यूचुअल कनेक्शन ज्यादा दिखते तो लोगों को लगता है कोई ज्वाइन हो रहा है या कुछ है, तो ये इसको पता है तो वो
कर लेगा एक्सेप्ट.
So that 100 from my account, 100 from Abhik's account. So we used to send 200 requests daily. So that was one of the reasons we also picked LinkedIn. कि वो first audience spawn करना easy है.
It's very funny that how you are saying that now you can see it was strategic, but at that time I think you were making the right moves, and these are very typical enterprise sales, like the kind of background I come from. This is very typical that how we also do it. Exactly, look at network effect, look at connections, just be there and present and then talk the right things. And I think those were the fundamentals that even you were doing. तो फिर अभी ज्वाइन हुआ अप्रैल में.
या उसमें होता क्या कि now like then execution comes in handy. What you learned on the job from कि उसको build करना है ना, LinkedIn build करना सा. वर्कशॉप भी 1000 लोगों ने की होगी जो हमने की थी. बट उसको एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए फिनिश लाना, ये सब तुम्हारे एग्जीक्यूशन प्रोग्रेस पे which you learn on the job. That is so not everything is very serendipitous. You have to grind it a lot, right? And like I remember initially when you used to write LinkedIn posts, for writing one post it used to take me 10-12 hours.
Wow.
Right. So execution also plays a big part. Right. So I see people either saying कि execution is only one thing or luck is, or like that. Both play a very strong part.
There's a demand and supply, right? So there's, of course, as you said, like onboarding assets were getting difficult for you. So was that what was breaking for you then? Like distribution, you kind of cracked, right? LinkedIn, mein you had enough, and at least for the first phase.
Yeah. No, back then assets weren't there. Right. So, and because it's a new asset class, nobody knew कि इसमें डालना भी चाहिए क्या ये कौन है. So that was, so even our first asset of 10 crore took about 63 days to get sold out. Right. And we had a lot of followers on LinkedIn, but they didn't convert. And right, like if people have to put in money, there is like awareness था ठीक है कुछ ऐसा है, but इधर जाके क्यों डालना है, consideration क्या है और conversion क्यों होगा, इसका कोई ये नहीं था. तो वो होने में टाइम लगा, right? But at least awareness वाला उधर से LinkedIn से काफ़ी अच्छा सॉल्व हुआ, right? And then we had like lot of plugins कि like as soon as somebody accepts the send request, it would send a message automatically कि hi, how are you?
Okay.
So it is bunch of these strings. Then we'll reply. Then if they reply, then we realize, I mean, this guy is open for a conversation. So then we would get involved, right? So,
Before we get into the next segment, I want to tell you a little about GrowthX. GrowthX members are the top 1% growth leaders, founders, and operators from the startup ecosystem. So, if you want to learn the science of revenue-led growth, then GrowthX is the right tribe for you. The link to apply for membership is in the description. We have an acceptance rate of around 8%. So, if you do make it, I'll see you on the inside. Now, back to our conversation.
So, were you building for trust, or were you trying to build for distribution, at least on the user side?
Never a distribution channel. So when it started getting picked up, we realized कि यार इससे authority बढ़ रही है, and this will be very helpful. So we are quick to realize that, and then we started building it as a trust and authoritative voice kind of medium. Even today, we don't like. I from my personal profile, I don't talk about WintWealth.
Not anymore.
To great extent, right? We only do certain very announcement, and we clearly, before putting anything about WintWealth, I generally ask the team why should world know this story, right? Right? We should tell a story for the world because it's good for the world, not just good for us, right? So today also it is kind of a trust building, authoritative building, kind of a place for us, LinkedIn, right? We are not driving any CTAs or we are not driving any conversion or from that.
I mean, even how do you define the 0 to 1? Like, I would say now you're in the 1 to 10 journey, in a way.
So we used to do these surveys. वो superhuman वाला है कि if we shut the product, how many of you will be heavily disappointed, right? We used to run that survey month on month with users. In first survey, we got about 42% in once we were there, right? And then in second survey, we got about 59%, and then like that. So these were clear indicators, and then our assets started getting subscribed really fast. So these were the sign of PMF. Till then, we were in 0 to 1 journey. So we are when we had that PMF, we were about still 10-member team, right? So we were very clear that we'll stay very lean.
Yeah.
In fact, we had four co-founders had joined back then out of 6. And we had 6 more guys who were kind of freshers or 1 year experience, who were just executing things, right? And we used to get on calls with users. In fact, we had to build trust, right? We had a Zoom button on the website homepage. And one of the founder used to join the call, right? So that people would take it seriously, right? So there's a bunch of things in 0 to 1. But yeah, I mean, so what we realize, I mean, in 0 to 1, you don't look at business as funnel. You just convert every user out there, right? That you can. It is not matter of resources. It's not matter of CAC. CAC definitely, because like CAC should be 0, I think, till you find really good, like till you know this is going to scale well, right? In fact, for our first 1,000 users, spent 0, right? But like every user who is interested in listening to you, you have to take him very serious. Don't look at it as a funnel, right? And so we had this Zoom button. We used to get on call for a long time. Like not for a long time, till we had 1,000 users. I don't even think that we had a company WhatsApp.
Okay.
If people signed up, somebody from the team will personally ping. Either me or Abhik or some. Abhik has spoken to about 5,000-6,000 users, not on call, but at least on chat or email. And used to spend about earlier 5 hours daily talking to users, right?
I know of a call he made to a friend and like आपको मालूम है आप क्या ले रहे हो, like आपको नहीं चाहिए, नहीं समझ में आ रहा तो we'll refund the money right away. And but do you understand like what have you signed up for? And that was like a really great sign of, you know, good culture, good build.
So interestingly, what happened when we launched, we call it low risk, right? And we got enough traction. And then I guess Deepak Shana explained us ki you guys are doing good job, but this is a high risk product. Because people look at, when they say thing low risk, they think FD. So this is definitely higher risk than FD. So he said, makes sense, and we didn't communicate well. So we changed the website overnight. And whoever had bought, we called them back and saying, do you want, because we told this is a low risk. Now we understand it's high risk. It was our mistake. And do you want to exit? And we are happy to let you go. Right?
How many people exited?
Some did. I don't remember the number. But we are okay. कि ठीक है मतलब because we were earlier worried कि इतना जा रहा है किसी को कुछ समझ भी रहा है या नहीं है क्या होने वाला है इसका, right? तो
That was around COVID time, right?
So this is January 2021, December 20. So COVID चल रहा था. First wave खत्म हुई थी, second आना बाकी था.
That was a very interesting time in the world, right? Like Bitcoin and things were going all over the place. Robinhood was like people were just sitting at home and investing and putting money. Like I think that's what was happening. They were not. It was very interesting, and again, like how they ended up just not understanding the product proposition, and of course, the communication changed as well. So after you changed the communication, was it still the same sort of traction?
No, it dipped like really like more than 50% it dipped. But we were happy. मतलब हमको कोई tension नहीं था because we had just launched. It wasn't like we knew PMF was far. We didn't want to, and there comes a value angle. We were very clear कि we want to like किसी का काटना नहीं है, right? We are here to build long term. We want to sleep well, right? So
You said PMF again. क्या होता है? Like how do you define it?
I think 0 to 1 is PMF. Right? जब तक PMF नहीं है, so startup में either PMF है या नहीं
है. You think you have it, है ना? And of course, so how would you say there's a checklist, or how do you look at it in terms of a framework कि हाँ यहाँ पे PMF है? Let's talk about your context, right?
Yeah. So in our context, what we realize, I mean, so because we are measuring it from demand side, that means users, right? So वो superhuman का framework मुझे काफ़ी अच्छा लगता है कि if you send a survey, ask people if you shut down today, how disappointed will they be? More than 40% say you are highly disappointed.
Okay.
So that's one objective ये. You get a feel also कि asset अगर खत्म हो रहा है, पेमेंट गेटवे क्रैश हो रहा है, लोग काफ़ी गाली दे रहे हैं सोशल मीडिया पे, तो ठीक है PMF है, राइट? तो ये तो बट ये सब इमोशनल हो गया. आई थिंक ऑब्जेक्टिव PMF हमको वही दिखाता.
That was the one. So your weakest link at that time was not the getting users to your platform. It was more to get more assets, and of course I'm sure you curate these assets as well. So talk me through that. वहाँ पे क्या problems था? Like what was breaking for you then, and how did you end up fixing it if you did?
Yeah, it is yet to be fixed. So that's like beauty and problem of fintech is like you are highly regulated, so you have to do lot. So we kind of had the demand PMF, but still today I don't think we have supply PMF.
ठीक है, एक बार explain करो. Okay, like you know, like if I'm
assets on the platform, it's supply for me. So the bonds you see are supply. The buyers are basically
obviously
demand, the demand side, right? So there are enough buyers interested. There are not good enough assets, right? And we have to figure out a very sustainable, scalable way of getting good assets. And we are solving for it. But in fintech, it does take a lot of time because of regulation, licensing, etc.
So how have you figured out some hacks, or how have you?
Not hacks. I mean, we have like now there is. So there was lack of regulation on us as a platform. So there is now the regulation has coming and it is getting settled, and that regulation has allowed us to innovate more, right? So that supply should get unlocked. Right? So because there was no regulation, there are a bunch of things that they're very very gray, and we didn't want to go there, right? So we want to stick to regulated products, right? And now with the regulation, we know that certain things are okay. and like we have written to regulator saying we are going to do this. Is this okay?
Okay.
Right. And so that's on. So I think we should solve the supply problem, and we are lucky in a sense that regulation came in. And that allowed.
So you were actually in a space where there was no charter, there were no regulations.
No, there was no regulation. It came about 8 months back.
And do you think that was a reaction because of what you are doing, and also like other players in the fintech?
Yeah. I mean, they came out with a consultation paper. They had named us, right? So
Yeah.
it was definitely we were one of the reason. I mean, not just we, the 5-6 player.
Yeah.
We are happy the regulation came.
Of course.
But now the regulation is helping us solve the supply TAM, right? Supply TAM, supply PMF, whatever you call it, right? So, and like, so there, PMF is also not one, right? Especially in fintech, because you have so many, right? So like, it's a 3-sided market. Like, you have 3 main factors, right? Especially there is somebody buying, somebody selling, and then there is regulation, right? So you have to figure out something that is acceptable to all, and still there should be some competitive advantage, right? Because once it gets regulated, it becomes very even playing ground. So it's a bit tricky, but that's how it is.
Yeah. You spoke about, I joined, then Abhik joined, and then of course eventually the rest 3-4 founders joined, and we were a small team of about 10. Kitne founders hain aaj? 7? 6? So what's the story there? Like, how come like this not like heard of, at least in the startup ecosystem? So where are you coming from?
Coming from ऐसा नहीं, मतलब not unheard of, तो मतलब that's how, like that's more probable to success, right? If you do something. So when my last startup shut down, I was very clear कि team तो सही बनानी है, right? मतलब in tech business people matter most, right? So I had list of about 25 people as potential co-founders in different sector की. मुझे नहीं पता मैं क्या करने वाला हूँ, right? If I do B2B, this is my guy. If I do B2B BFSI, this is my potential guy, right?
Who do you remember from that list?
All of them, right?
Okay.
Right. If I, let's say, do health tech, there is one doctor who can be co-founder, one clinical, one research, right? So to that extent, we had prepared, right? And when we started WintWealth, we knew kind of what co-founding team we wanted, but we are also very clear that we don't need everybody from day one.
Yeah.
Right. So many of these, like when I joined, I said we have to first have some money. Right. When our angel round, so I put in some money and got Abhik on board, and I put in some money and then some angel round was committed. That's when Abhik came in. Right. Then after 6 months we realized, I mean, तब तक सब मैन्युअली चल रहा था. मतलब हमारा फर्स्ट लॉन्च was just a web page. You couldn't transact there. It was a WhatsApp button. And it would directly connect with Abhik's WhatsApp, and Abhik would get on a call. They will pay us through UPI.
Okay, wow.
Right. And we will transfer units to them manually. There is nothing tech involved.
Yeah.
Right? Then we realized, अच्छा 100 user हो गए. So then our Shashank Tech co-founder joined in. Right. And then we realized कि हाँ चलो अभी ये चल रहा है, अभी asset लाना. Then Anshul came on board. Right. Then when we had 0 to 1 crack, after that Dubey, our growth co-founder, he joined. Right. And now we know and then after our series A, Shruti joined, right? So we are very clear, मतलब ऐसा बहुत clear नहीं था कौन कब join करेगा, but we are very clear कि नहीं है ना full time जरूरत तो नहीं है, मतलब रहने दो भी, मतलब they used to help us from the backgrounds.
So they were involved. You knew who the people were, but you were like, hey, wait for now.
Yes, more or less, yes.
Okay. So you said, right, like you're building a tech company, and then so do you look at yourself as a tech company or a finance company? Like who are the most critical elements, right? How do you look at it? Is it like because there's so much finance involved, is finance and business takes precedence over tech, or tech is just something you do to deliver what you need to do, so it's not that important? Like,
see, I mean, at core there are 2 types of businesses, right? Either you are a tech business or you are a business which is enabled by tech. We are definitely in second category. And to some extent, most of the big businesses in India are enabled by tech. Right?
yeah.
Whether it is Flipkart or in, like, when I say pure tech product, these are mainly either SaaS, like Slack or these, or pure B2C tech, like Facebook, or like there is no other team. So I think most of the products are enabled by tech, right?
Yeah.
And then so tech is definitely important, but when you run a business, that business will have some very critical parts, right? And those you have to identify and work and build a really good team around it, right? So in our business, that's definitely regulation, finance, because we are in a fintech ecosystem. Like there is a saying I read somewhere, CAC kills fintech, stock-based compensation kills SaaS companies, and unit economics kills e-commerce, right?
And I think these three are the most important, aren't they?
Yeah, and so in fintech, like CAC is very important. So for us, building those low CAC engines is really important for our long-term success, right? So you basically figure out, okay, what are the things I really need to excel at,
Yeah.
right? And then there are some functions where you have to make sure you don't fuck up.
What would they look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, so for us, like low CAC engine, having a really good trustable brand,
Yeah.
not making sure that our underwriting never goes wrong. These are very, very critical, right? And because we are B2C, you have to have a really good experience for the customer, right? And that means two. One is product and second is CX. Your customer success team, right? Whether it's chat or YA or YA. Right. So you have to be really top 1% in that category.
Yeah. And I see a bunch of, I think customer experience is something a lot of new age brands actually, I think that defines the difference between an insurance company and another insurance company, or, buying a product from somewhere else and going somewhere like is exactly.
I mean, it's becoming abundantly clear, and kind of some people, and this is not my original thought, but if you have to build anything long term in today's world, which is anyway digital first, whatever you do, if you're not a high NPS company, you will be beaten. It's just a matter of time, and that matter of time can be long, so it doesn't seem happening fast, but it will happen 5 years, 10 years. But if you're low NPS, you're not going to survive. Whatever your growth numbers are, like whatever it is.
So Ajinkya, tell me some stories, right? Like how did you, what are you doing right now to keep NPS high, or
talk to users and solve their problems? And it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Actually, do you have that execution skill or that tenacity to go to that last mile and make it right for the user? It's not that difficult. It's not rocket science. At least NPS is not rocket science.
But then why do so many companies still get it wrong? Like what are they not looking at? Or it's just that, as I've seen, a lot of people just don't make that call. They just don't talk to users.
I think so. I don't talk to users enough.
Abhik does.
Yeah.
Abhik definitely does.
Yeah, but I think he does, but I also should do. But as a team, we do talk to users.
Yeah.
I think, one clear case I see in especially logistic business or e-commerce business is you can't really, then I would look at category में किसका NPS है. Like it is very unfair to compare Vint का NPS with a logistic company.
Obviously, yeah.
उसमें इतने moving parts है, उसमें इतने ज़्यादा ops involved है कि और एक भी leg में गड़बड़ हुआ तो NPS कम होने वाला, and you can't really control. Right? Yeah. So category में मतलब let me put it this way कि NPS कम होना is also that NPS is category wise.
Category wise, yeah. Sometimes it's just
when the founders prioritize business over users, then NPS goes down.
You know what, Ajinkya, this is like very common in terms of rain matter companies. I've spoken to a couple of them, Sensible, look at Small Case, look at even experience these. It's very common. So what's happening there, right? I want you to is it the way Nitin looks at companies, or is it because you looked at it and there was an alliance in building long-term companies?
Definitely Nitin has great influence. I mean, I don't know about other because we are the Sensible and all got funded much earlier. But yeah, I mean, Nitin has a great influence. When you go and talk to Nitin and understand, I mean, they do bunch of these things for users and they don't really they don't really store user level data. They don't have data science team because they don't think that they should they should send users a lot of notifications, etc., And when you see that, it just unlocks that creative thinking, or that even it opens you where somebody is doing such a great job. And like, this is where the bar is. For us, we actually like, we really enjoy that when user is really happy, na, that makes your day.
Yeah.
You talk to a happy user, you will like, wo dhanda वगैरह ठीक है छोड़ दो. Like that makes you happy, right? And that, not just you, anyone in the team.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, we have a Slack channel called Appreciation and Wins, where people, if a user is really happy, people share it there, and everybody loves it and just gives the positive energy, right? It's just that you as human being, कोई तो है ना oxytocin जो भी कोई हार्मोन ये होता है, right?
Oxytocin? Something like that.
Something like that happens. Yeah. Right? And if you get yourself hooked to it, addicted to it, your NPS will be high.
That's a very interesting take. I mean, I never looked at it this way.
And वो user के angle से भी होता है ना. When he is truly happy, he will be associated with the brand. He will think कि यार चलो मैं इनसे और कुछ खरीद लेता हूँ. Something. वो थोड़ी ये सोचेगा कि मेरे को इनका LTV बढ़ाना है. वो तो अपने happiness के लिए कर रहा है, right?
Yeah, and they'll go out of the way. They'll go out of the way, and I think that's true for you, right? And that's true for a lot of the Rainmatter, like, you know, companies. At least that's the thing. So, is there a WhatsApp group, by the way? कुणाल शाह के साथ कोई WhatsApp group है कि जहाँ सारे लोग ये discuss करते हो?
नहीं, नितिन के साथ नहीं, कुणाल के साथ भी नहीं. कुणाल के तो इतने startups हैं, तो he's like, I look at it, Kunal as index fund of startups, right? So, but no WhatsApp group. Okay. But Nitin is always available.
Yeah.
I don't, but Nitin is not available on WhatsApp. Generally, he's available on GChat. But yeah, he's always available for us. Whenever we ask him something, whenever we ask for his time, he's always there.
Talk to me, these passionate users, right? Like users high on WintWealth, high NPS scores. Talk to me about these. Like, what are your insights about them? ये इंडिया का क्या insight है? Like,
yeah, मुझे पर्सनली लगता है कि insights वगैरह थे, ये सब सही है, बट एनपीएस में वो कुछ नहीं होता. एनपीएस में सीधा होता है कि यूजर का आर यू ट्रू टू द यूजर, आर यू एबल टू व्हाट ही इज लुकिंग फॉर, आर यू एबल टू प्रोवाइड अ टॉप नॉच सर्विस थ्रू प्रोडक्ट और थ्रू मैनुअल इंटरवेंशन, वॉट एवर इट इज. यूजर वो दिखते, राइट. हमारे इसमें वेरी क्लियर है कि वो यूजर कहीं इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, उसको जानना है रिस्क क्या है. सब फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट में छुपा के होता है, हम उसको अपफ्रंट बता रहे हैं. अगर हमें पूछता है कि हम कभी झूठ नहीं बोलते, हमारे एफएक्यू में लिखा है दीज आर हाई रिस्क प्रोडक्ट, राइट. इमेजिन यूजर की उसको हमेशा पता है कि फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट में लोग मिससेल करते हैं. अब वो देख रहे हैं यहाँ जाके WintWealth पे क्या ये मिससेल कर रहे हैं, ये कैसे सही है, और वो उस उधर लिखा रहा है ये हाई रिस्क है. लाइक उसका एंग्जाइटी रिड्यूस हो गया, राइट. इमोशनली ही इज एट मच ईज, ही कैन ट्रस्ट यू मोर, ही विल बी हैप्पी, राइट. इफ लेट्स से उसको यूनिट नहीं मिला, ही रीचेस आउट टू समवन, and somebody assures him very clearly, says sorry कि ये नहीं हुआ. वो बोलेगा मुझे, some user will say कि mail me, because they don't trust on WhatsApp, right? So you mail them. So and that requires org level also, कि हमने टीम को बोला कि I tell my CX guys, the customers, कि you represent the customer. If you think something is rational, commit to user. वो होगा, हम देखा जाएंगे. वो इवेंचुअली ये छोटे केस है, अगर वो बड़े केस है हम प्रोडक्ट में ये कर ही देंगे. तो इट्स ऑल्सो कि एन इंडिया इज लो ट्रस्ट नेशन, राइट. तो इफ यू लाइक रियली ओपन अप टू द यूजर, टेल हिम एवरीथिंग अप फ्रंट, तो एनपीएस बढ़ेगा ही, राइट. बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती है, राइट. आई रिमेंबर वन लेडी केम इन एंड शी इन्वेस्टेड 50 lakhs इन वन बॉन्ड.
ओके.
सरप्राइज किया, मतलब कि कैसे किया किसी ने. एंड then I called her, मतलब our team called her up, right? Not सिर्फ कि जीरोधा का कंपनी इसलिए कर दिया.
Wow.
Then we were like कि how much are you looking to invest? You know कि you should diversify well, right? Then she was like कि ठीक है तो मुझे दूसरे बॉन्ड दो. उन्होंने बोला है नहीं अभी. Then she said what should I do with my money? She said we can't advise, but if we were you, we'll actually withdraw money. Right, and she withdrew money and she was very happy ki like somebody actually invested money, and somebody called and said ki so if you look out for your users, NPS will be high, na. Right. And I'm saying ki jo bana rahe wo log capable hai, execution mein they will not, right. I think So I don't think it's a rocket science. It's basically it takes commitment, right? And then there is, I remember this saying in Modern Family mein ki 90% job of being a dad is just showing up. I think NPS mein bhi wahi hai. You just have to show up for the user and take care of him, right? He knows that you're not perfect, right? They are forgiving, right? कई बार ऐसा हुआ यूजर ने बहुत चिल्लाया हम पे and then they came back and said sorry, right? You wouldn't think a user would say sorry to you, but it happens, right? So it's all about showing up, I think. It's not rocket science at all.
How do you look at the fintech market or the ecosystem, right? Like there is now you have created a place for you, but overall when you look at the market, like is a lot of people ask, right? Is fintech a bubble? Do you look at it that way?
डेफिनेटली नॉट बबल. मतलब ये ना मार्केट स्टैग्नेट हुआ है क्या, बबल है क्या, ये सब बाहर वाले लोग पूछते हैं, राइट? अंदर वाले वैल्यूएशन में बबल तो वो तो मतलब लाइक यहाँ तो सबको पता ही होगा, राइट? बबल डेफिनेटली नहीं. एंड लाइक सो लाइक वी डोंट थिंक इट इज बबल और एनीथिंग. आई मीन द काइंड ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी दैट द गवर्नमेंट हैज बिल्ट, government बोलो, NPC बोलो, is phenomenal, and that has allowed this all innovation, and they've basically built the infrastructure.
Absolutely, and that infrastructure was not even meant for us, right? That's the cool part, that infrastructure was actually meant to give support the grassroots Indian and make sure the subsidies kind of get to them, and from there on these innovations.
Was Jan Dhan, Adhar and mobile, but if you look at UPI, now account aggregator, these are not actually all grassroots level. These are basically like I do think they are basically somehow they have gotten hold ki we are going to innovate and we are going to build products like nowhere else, right? And they've done an awesome job at it. And many of them obviously like they are mainly for the lower strata or economically not so powerful people. But like they do have like right, even if you look at demat accounts, right, and investment is a demat account, or let's say just look at SEBI. Investment is not for poor people, right? I mean, it's if you have extra money, you invest. But even there you will see phenomenal regulation, infrastructure, tech, etc. So it's not just about lower strata.
Absolutely.
I think either there is this core belief in the political leadership, and I mean, not one party but everywhere, saying this is the way to innovate and take India forward, right? And that has been continuing.
I think that's a social aspect of doing it right for everyone else. And then I think the profitability aspect is what startups bring in. Like
startups are yet to bring in profitability, but yes, they will bring in profit.
I mean, of course, like the future of India in terms of like the GDP growth is definitely the next decade is more likely to come from startups, like maybe 1,000 startups doing revenue of maybe 1,000 crores sort of thing, versus legacy brands doing like growing more from what they've already done.
I don't know, to be frank. Right.
Forget the ecosystem, right? What about WintWealth? Do you see them like yourself scaling to that extent? Do you think that's the kind of TAM or the market is there for you to?
If we are able to create supply PMF, I do think there is enough TAM. Our biggest worry for a long time was regulation, and now regulation has played out really well. So we are generally very, very much happy for ourselves, right? But there is definitely TAM. There is definitely infra available to build on it.
You know what, Jingo, I want to blame you for something. I want you to, like, I think you were the one who started the whole trend of Finfluencers, right? Like, these influencers from like the finance background, kind of getting, talking to them, having them. I think a couple of them have also invested in WintWealth. 15-20
of them.
So there is a story there. Like I want to see, like, was that again serendipity, or you knew content works on LinkedIn, so now maybe I want to see what other content levers work, and like how did that happen? Like how did the first one? Who was the first one, by the way?
So actually this is in 2021, right? So all fintech brands were spending a lot on influencers. So they were having lot of money, right? And second, we got funded by Zerodha. So that like all these traditional players, right, who look at business, they have awesome respect for Zerodha. They don't really bother about anyone else. And right, when Zerodha came in, there was obvious interest that they wanted to invest in, right? And when we start talking to them, what we realize, I mean, they also understand audience really well, right? If they've scaled to millions of subscribers, it's not like they're not sham, right? So, and they gave us a lot of insights about the audience, and then they said it's worthwhile if you take their money. And a couple of them offered from themselves saying we want to invest. So we said, we'll ask everyone, and like many of them came on board, right? So it wasn't planned or anything, and we didn't give anyone advisory equity or sweat equity.
Yeah.
It was pure commercial deal, right? But like once somebody invests in your business, there is some at least emotional connect, right? They want to grow their money. They are more available, right? You get seat at the table to talk to them, right? But I don't think we are the trendsetters. At least could be in finance, but I know like Shilpa Shetty had invested in Mamaearth long back in 2018.
No, I'm just talking about only
Finance.
Finfluencers, only finance influencers talking, because there's this trend, right? Like and again, you cracked it, right? 20 odd influencers on your table. How did you go about it? Like, how did you approach them?
So we had Zerodha support. So in fact,
Okay.
there is one really phenomenal guy in Zerodha. His name is Sagar, and he has really good command of our influencer marketing. So he knew them very well. So like he started so we started talking to him. He started helping us out, and so he helped us, and we started talking, explaining really well. And these influencers also liked when we told we want to make sure that risks are told very clearly in the video. And a couple of them told me that like, brands generally have kind of pressure not to mention risk, right? So they were, when we told them we want risk to be talked openly about this product, that I'm pretty sure that must have built a confidence saying this is a different team, and that must have kind of encouraged them to invest. I don't know. The thing is, in 2020 when everybody had a lot of money, right? I mean, this peak bubble, right? And a lot of it was flowing to them through, right? Through it. So that was the reason they wanted to invest maybe. And Zerodha did play because they respect, all of them respect Zerodha. Everybody respects Zerodha, right? So they coming in was a great kind of thumbs up for us.
So what were some insights like while talking to influencers? I think you were shadowing. How did you go about it? Like what again? So you pitch to them, then you were directly offering them equity, or you were saying that, hey, you know what, just would you like to, I invite you to just put a small post or a reel about us. How did you have a script for them? How did you kind of go about really, capturing that synergy with them in such a beautiful way?
So we did one video with one influencer. It really did well. So we did one with one more, and it also did well, right? So this is a really good channel. So I personally started talking to many of them, explaining the product, explaining what we do, taking them to the product flow, right? And then making sure that we used to tell them upfront that we will talk about risk very upfront and with a proper time, right? And that must have built confidence. For equity, I mean, we were very clear. I mean, this deal is separate, commercial deal is separate, and this equity deal is separate.
Okay.
So if you want to invest at the round price.
Okay.
If you don't want to invest, don't invest. These commercials are separate. We don't expect any favors there. We can't give any favors here because
fantastic,
right? And like we wanted to keep it clean.
So no sort of barter, none of that.
No barter.
Fantastic. I always thought it would be something like that.
No, we must have got a lot of organic shouts, but no barter as such.
Got it. I think you're building something really phenomenal here, and I'm really waiting to see what's going to happen next. So, thank you, Ajinkya.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, I think I'll open it up for anyone you want to ask some questions, you have some thoughts. raise your hand and we'll take it from there. Small, intimate, so we'll keep it like that.